without saying a word.
I've been working almost too much.
It started with a phone call nobody can trace. A raspy voice, muffled by static, whispered, "They keep pouring the bottle, but they don't want the song to end." Then the line went dead. That cryptic message landed in a Nashville studio 2 days before Keith Whitley was found lifeless in his own home, glass still sweating on the nightstand. For fans, it felt like the first chord of a ghost story. For insiders, it confirmed a rumor that had been swirling in Music City's smoky backrooms for months, that someone, somewhere, needed his voice quiet. Keith Whitley's legend usually begins with his velvet tenor gliding through "Don't Close Your Eyes," but the true prologue is set in the coal-streaked hills of Sandy Hook, Kentucky. Born on July 1, 1954, Jackie Keith Whitley grew up racing beat-up Chevys around hairpin turns with his brother Dwight, guitars rattling in the back seat, and Danger forever riding shotgun. Locals still talk about the time teenage Keith misjudged a cliffside curve, flipped his car, and crawled out laughing with glass in his hair. That grin, half daredevil, half saint, caught the attention of every bar owner within 50 miles. By his late teens, Keith was trading bluegrass licks with Ricky Skaggs under neon bar lights, their harmonies ringing through tobacco-cured air thick with cigarette haze and the sweet, skunky scent of cannabis drifting from the parking lot. The kid could uncork a note so piercing it cut through jukebox chatter like a cracked church bell, and Nashville took notice. What most scouts missed, though, was the tremor in his hand whenever he set the microphone down, a tiny shake he disguised by flipping the chord or slapping a snare head in rhythm. It wasn't nerves, it was thirst. In 1972, Whitley joined Ralph Stanley's legendary Clinch Mountain Boys, barely old enough to vote yet already nursing tumblers of rye between sets. On moonlit bus rides, he'd tell bandmates about the crash that almost killed him, how the dashboard bent like wet cardboard, and how he felt oddly cheated when he survived. "I think the Reaper just wants an encore," he joked, half grin, half dare. Those late-night confessions hinted at something deeper than youthful swagger, an itch for danger that applause alone couldn't scratch. Nashville finally reeled him in during the early 80s. RCA executives promised Keith everything: studio freedom, prime tour slots, even hush-hush sessions with songwriters who charged 4 figures a verse. The city's velvet ropes swung open, and so did every bar door on Lower Broadway. Within months, whispers floated down the Cumberland River that Whitley's backstage rider included specific brands of whiskey, and that a discreet roadie carried a mirror and a rolled-up bill for certain after-party guests. Nobody used the full word cocaine, but tales of midnight coke runs spread faster than chart rumors. At the same time, the public image was pure romance. When Keith married rising star Lori Morgan in 1986, tabloids hailed them as country's new royal couple, her blonde sparkle offsetting his rugged drawl. Their duet, "Till a Tear Becomes a Rose," melted radio dials, but insiders remember hotel walls vibrating with arguments about canceled shows, empty bottles, and jealous texts from rival singers who swore Keith was stealing their chart slots. Photographers caught him once leaving a writer's round looking glassy-eyed, yet the next night he stood on stage and distilled heartbreak into gold. Yet when Whitley stepped to the microphone, all rumors evaporated. His 1988 album Don't Close Your Eyes exploded, 3 chart toppers in a row, and critics called him the heir to Lefty Frizzell, a voice soaked in sorrow yet somehow cleansing. Behind the applause, though, doctors' notes piled up warning of liver stress, and tour managers started plotting routes around cities with the heaviest temptations. A bandmate later recalled swapping Keith's whiskey with iced tea mid-set, only to find the flask refilled with the real stuff before the encore. One story the label tried to bury took place on the Kentucky River during a rare weekend off. Keith, a lifelong fisherman, set out before dawn with 2 friends, a cooler packed more with bottles than bait. By noon, the boat drifted aimlessly. By 2, Keith slipped, smacked his head, and sank. Legend says a passing farmer's teenage son dove in and hauled him out, coughing river water and singing an off-key line from Miami, as if testing whether his lungs still worked. The near drown barely made a footnote in local press, but insiders whispered that RCA bought every negative from the photographer who arrived first. As 1989 opened, Whitley embarked on a Southern Circuit promoters dubbed the Unfinished Business Tour, a title that felt prophetic. Show after show sold out, but behind closed hotel doors, friends described marathon poker games where the ante was a shot glass, and the winner took home stories better left untold. One witness later claimed Keith ranted about a mysterious suit from New York, threatening to shelve his next record if he didn't tame the bar talk. Whether label pressure or paranoia, the tension showed in new lyrics scribbled on napkins. Strings in the shadows, claws in the ink. The final 72 hours of Keith Whitley's life read like a script no songwriter would dare pitch. Thursday night he dazzled the crowd at the Golden Nugget in Knoxville, hitting notes so pure a critic swore the rafters shook. Back at the hotel, he allegedly phoned a confidant mumbling about voices on the wire and a contract he never signed. Friday, he drove back to his Nashville home, stopping twice, once for gas, once, according to a cashier, for a small bottle of Kentucky bourbon and a six-pack of soda no doctor would recommend. Saturday, May 6, 1989, dawned humid. Lori left early for a promotional photo shoot, reminding Keith to be ready for dinner with radio executives. He replied with a lazy salute and the half-joking promise, "If I'm not here, I'm on the porch writing the next number one." By 10:30 a.m., his friend Vince Gill's road manager stopped by, found Whitley lounging on the sofa, glass tumbling from his hand, bottle on the coffee table half empty. The two chatted. Keith, unusually subdued, spoke about getting free of the puppet strings. The visitor left at 11:10. That manager left at 11:10. By noon, Keith's brother Dwight arrived to pick up golfing gear. Inside, he found the living room silent except for a ticking wall clock and the faint hiss of a paused VHS tape. Keith lay in the bedroom, face serene as though caught mid-dream. Paramedics pronounced him gone at 1:30, blood alcohol level off the charts. Official reports called it acute alcohol poisoning, a tragic self-inflicted accident. Yet almost immediately, contradictions surfaced. Time gaps, missing receipts, and that eerie phone call. Metro Police cataloged the scene. 2 empty whiskey bottles, 1 overturned glass, pills prescribed for anxiety still sealed. The sheet music on the dresser bore a scribble. "They won't let me finish," underlined twice. Tabloids pounced, weaving tales of shadowy label execs, spurned lovers, and financial predators. An enterprising journalist traced a series of phone calls from Keith's line to an unlisted number linked to a private investigator notorious for digging up dirt on artists renegotiating contracts. When the reporter pressed RCA for comment, they cited ongoing legal review. 3 weeks later, a courthouse clerk leaked autopsy addenda noting minor bruising on Whitley's upper arm, inconsistent with a simple fall. Authorities dismissed it as post-mortem handling, but conspiracy forums lit up, suggesting a struggle. Former bodyguard Big Randy Thompson claimed off record that Keith had asked him to drop by that Saturday, saying cryptically, "If anything happens, tell the folks the music died clean." Randy, stuck in traffic, never made it. Then came the tape. In 1994, an anonymous package arrived at a Tennessee radio station containing a worn cassette labeled KW, Last Demo. The track, never officially released, features Whitley softly finger-picking while muttering lyrics about a puppet on a golden string, cut loose by unseen hands. At the end, a door creaks, and Keith murmurs, "I told you I won't be your marionette," followed by a click as the tape stops. Engineers authenticated the voice, but RCA swiftly blocked broadcast, citing rights disputes. The tape now circulates among collectors like contraband. In 2002, a retired paramedic broke silence, revealing that one of the whiskey bottles at the death scene lacked fingerprints, as if wiped clean. Cold case enthusiasts pored over logs, discovering that a man using the alias Sam Houston rented a white sedan spotted on Keith Street that morning. The rental form, paid in cash, and never returned. Police dismissed the lead as coincidence, but the sedan's vehicle identification number later surfaced in connection with a burnt-out shell found miles away, bringing fresh fuel to an old fire. Whitley's widow, Lori Morgan, campaigned for years to protect his legacy, but even she hinted at oddities. In a 2012 interview, she recalled a music industry power broker cornering Keith weeks before his death, warning that the next record is whichever one we say it is. She didn't name names, yet industry blogs speculated about a top executive ousted soon after for embezzlement and rumored mob ties. That individual, questioned once by reporters about Whitley, offered only a tight smile and, "Some men are born to trouble." Meanwhile, newly declassified FBI documents from a wider investigation into organized crime in the entertainment sector mention a country singer KW, who allegedly witnessed an illicit money laundering scheme backstage at the 1988 CMA Awards. The pages are heavily redacted, but margins bear handwritten notes. Potential liability? Monitor. Analysts believe that code referred to ongoing surveillance, though agencies refuse comment. Fans wonder if that mysterious monitoring explains the phantom phone call and Keith's growing paranoia. Add to that the testimony of studio engineer Carla Ruiz, who unearthed a forgotten reel in 2019 while archiving RCA masters. On the reel, Keith laughs between takes, then suddenly lowers his voice. "They say if the bottle don't get me, the contract will." A nervous chuckle follows, then a technician abruptly cuts recording. The reel languished in storage for 3 decades, its existence unknown to the official estate until Ruiz spoke up on a podcast, sparking renewed calls for a formal inquiry. What followed his burial in Nashville's Spring Hill Cemetery was a surge of posthumous success that felt almost orchestrated. "I Wonder Do You Think of Me," recorded weeks before his death, rocketed to #1, and the label rushed out compilations, box sets, and tribute concerts. Money flowed, yet contracts revealed Keith's estate received a fraction of the windfall. Lawyers blamed standard recoup clauses, but whistleblowers hinted that ledger lines had been massaged, debts inflated, and certain royalty reports vanished. Among collectors, the Holy Grail is a rumored album dubbed Last Call, said to contain raw demos Keith tracked on a portable rig in the weeks leading up to May 1989. According to lore, the songs reveal coded warnings, references to shadow men, and a chilling chorus. "If the curtain drops early, sing me home." Multiple individuals claim to have heard fragments, but no full tape has surfaced. A broker on the dark web once listed a cassette labeled LC, rough, starting bids at $50,000, then disappeared offline. Keith's mother, Faye, passed in 2009, but not before giving an interview to a local paper where she insisted her son had planned to enter treatment the very week he died. She produced a folded pamphlet from a Tennessee rehab center scribbled with Keith's notes: "Shadow work, fear of strings, find quiet." Faye's claim contradicts friends who said he dismissed rehabilitation as career implosion. Yet those same friends later admitted Keith had grown increasingly paranoid about leaked medical records harming future deals. Then the digital era rewrote the evidence chain. In 2021, audio forensics firm Veritone used machine learning to isolate crowd noise from a 1988 concert bootleg, revealing Keith muttering into the mic between songs. "They keep the bottles flowing so the contracts stay chained." The line, almost inaudible live, now rings clear. The discovery reignited calls among fans for a grand jury review. Nashville authorities responded with a brief statement: "Case closed." Social media, however, declared its own mistrial. Meanwhile, the music business marches on, yet every fresh-faced bar singer covering "When You Say Nothing at All" inherits the ghost. Seasoned session players swear studio lights flicker whenever that song's opening guitar rings out, as if someone backstage wants a word. New artists cite Keith as inspiration, but executives flinch at comparisons, worried any buzz might summon the old specter of scandal. A rising star once confessed on a podcast that her manager warned, Channel his emotion, not his questions. In April 2025, an AI startup announced a digital duet featuring Keith's isolated vocals woven around modern production. The press release bragged about pioneering technology. Fans split between awe and outrage. Lori Morgan, now a veteran in her own right, released a terse statement. "He's sung enough for them." When asked whether she believed foul play cut her husband's voice short, she paused, then answered with careful Southern diplomacy. "I believe the truth is like a buried mandolin. Sooner or later, somebody is bound to trip over the case." For all the speculation, one detail rarely surfaces outside the tightest songwriting circles: the missing notebook. Keith was known for jotting lyric ideas in a battered leather-bound journal, the same book he clutched backstage like a lucky rabbit's foot. According to fiddle player Gene Johnson, that journal rested on the console during Keith's final studio session, a midnight overdub on May 3rd, before disappearing into thin air. Engineers tore apart the control room the next morning, astonished to find it gone, along with the rough mix reel they'd printed after hours. No break-in, no sign of forced entry, just a vacant space where the notebook should have been, a silence thicker than any tape hiss. Weeks after Keith's funeral, a courier delivered a sealed envelope to historian Robert K. Orman. Inside was a single photocopied page, Keith's handwriting unmistakable, outlining a concept called Project Seesaw. The page described leveraging publishing catalogs as collateral for loans routed through offshore accounts, with percentages that dwarfed the standard artist royalty. The photocopy ended abruptly after the words, "If they refuse the seesaw, they'll tip the board themselves." Urman passed the page to an entertainment lawyer, who vanished from Nashville gossip columns almost as quickly as the document surfaced. The original notebook has never been recovered. Skeptics dismiss the episode as folklore, yet a recently declassified FDIC memorandum references an anonymous informant warning of structured fraud within a leading country label, potentially connected to the sudden death of a marquee act. The memo is dated May 9th, merely 3 days after Keith's body was discovered. Whether the missing journal held the key or simply amplified the legend is still a matter of heated debate. But one thing remains clear: every time a new scrap of paper surfaces, the official story grows shakier, like a bar stool missing one leg. Studio whispers say the console lights blink whenever his melodies are discussed, a silent reminder that some stories refuse to fade, still hanging in the air like smoke after the encore. And so we circle back to that untraceable call, the one that sparked whispered theories on Music Row. The number remains unlisted, the tape re-recorded 100 times by fans searching for hidden messages in the static. Some hear a faint steel guitar, others claim discernible footsteps. Maybe it's just line noise, or maybe it's a clue left by a man who sensed the stage lights dimming long before showtime. Either way, the mystery endures, humming like feedback after the band has walked off. Keith Whitley's songs still chart on heartbreak playlists, yet every note now carries the weight of a question never answered. If you ever find yourself alone in a dim room with only a spinning record for company, let the stylus ride all the way to the run-out groove. Right there, after the final chord of "Tell Lori I Love Her," you'll notice the faintest hiss, a breath that belongs neither to vinyl nor machine. Some shrug it off as simple surface noise. Others swear it's Keith himself, hovering somewhere between the speakers, desperate to finish the melody the industry never allowed. Maybe that whisper is nothing. Maybe it's everything. Until every vault is opened, every ledger exposed, and every silent witness finally speaks, the question will linger. Did Keith Whitley simply lose a battle with the bottle, or did unseen hands guide the last glass to his lips? Turn up the volume and decide for yourself, before the hiss fades for good.